Okay, are we live? Are we live? Let me check. Finally, we are doing this. This is upcoming. Okay, are we live? Are we live? Let me check. Okay, we are live. Okay, so what are we going to do today? Hmm. Today we are learning Nest.js. Um, yeah, is it showing or not? Let me check if you are able to see my screen or not. But right now it's just blank. Yeah, you are able to see. Great. So what we are going to do today is we are going to learn Next.js, not Next.js, but Nest.js. And just to give you some perspective why we are doing this is because I am a lazy person and I won't study it on my own. And it is easier for me to make someone else study for me. So through this live stream, what we are going to do is I'm going to pretend teaching you guys Nest.js while I myself am learning Nest.js. Okay, great. So we are going to continue with the Nest.js documentation here, starting with the introduction. So without wasting any time, let's start. Nest.js. Nest.js is a framework for building efficient, scalable Node.js server-side applications. Okay, we got that it is a framework which is for Node.js server-side application. We got it. It's not for front end, it's for back end. Okay, got it. It uses progressive JavaScript. It's built with fully supports TypeScript. Great. We all love TypeScript. Yet still enables developers to code in pure JavaScript and combines elements of object-oriented programming, functional programming, and functional reactive programming. Okay, big words. Under the hood, Nest.js makes use of robust HTTP server frameworks like Express, the default, and optionally can use configured to use a fast API as well. Okay, under the hood, it is using Express. Just to give you some perspective, because I have learned a little bit, which is that under the hood, it uses Express.js. The problem that it solves is that for in Express.js you don't have a structure. It is a opinionless framework. So you can create your own folder structure. You can create it your backend just the way you like. But as the program as your backend grows, it becomes problem to basically manage it. Managing it becomes a big problem. So, which is why we have Nest.js. To have okay, great. Nest.js provides a level of abstraction above those common Node.js frameworks, Express and Fastify, but also exposes their API directly to the developer. This gives developer the freedom to use the myriad of third-party modules which are available for underlying platforms. Okay, great. Let's get to the philosophy. In recent years, thanks to Node.js, JavaScript has become a lingua franca. I don't know what that means. Of web for both front-end and back-end application. Fair enough. You can use your JavaScript in your front end, so as well use it in the backend as well. This has given rise to awesome projects like Angular, React, and Vue, in which improves developer productivity and enables the creation of fast, testable, and extensible front-end applications. However, while plenty of superb libraries, helpers, and tools exist for Node, and server-side JavaScript, none of them effectively solves the main problem of architecture. Fair enough. So the same thing that I told you that it does not Express does not have a built-in architecture. You can create pure architecture just the way you want. But Nest.js solves that problem. Nest.js provides an out-of-the-box application architecture which allows developer and teams to create highly testable, scalable, loosely coupled, and easily maintainable application. We can test it, it scales very well. Each module is loosely coupled, so they are not dependent on each other and they are easy to maintain. Okay, जी. The architecture is heavily inspired by Angular. Okay, to get things started, you have to do this, and this, and yeah. Now let's start with your overview. We got a basic introduction by what is Nest.js. So it is a framework for what? It is a framework for backend applications. Now let's start with the first step. In this set of articles, you will learn the core fundamental of Nest.js. That's why we are here. To get familiar with essential building blocks of Nest application, we build a basic CRUD application with features that cover a lot of ground at an introductory level. Okay, language, we are in love with TypeScript, but above all, we love Node.js. Okay, that's why Nest.js is compatible with both TypeScript and pure JavaScript. Nest takes advantage of the latest language features. So to use it with vanilla JavaScript, we need a Babel compiler. Okay, once again, that's why Nest.js is compatible with both TypeScript and pure JavaScript. Nest takes advantage of latest language features. So to use it with vanilla JavaScript, we need a Babel compiler. Okay, okay, got it. The ES6 thing. Okay, got it. While we will mostly use TypeScript in the example you provide, but you can always switch the code snippet to vanilla JavaScript. Okay, got it. Prerequisite. We make sure that Node.js version 20, okay, setup, okay. This we have to run these two commands to get to the application. Then what do we do? We take them out. Yeah, so the project name directory will be created, node modules and a few other boilerplate files will be installed, and a SRC directory will be created and populated with several core features files. So there is a SRC file folder which has app dot this. I just remove this. Yeah, very distracting. Hmm. Okay, a lot better. Now we have our SRC directory, which is app.controller.spec.ts, controller.ts, module.ts, studies.ts, and main.ts. Very nice. Here's a brief overview of these code files. What is your controller as? A basic controller is in the controller.spec.ts, the unit test for the controller. Very nice. We have test inbuilt. Okay. App.module.ts, the root module of the application. App.service.ts, a basic service with a single method. Main.ts, the entry file of the application that uses the core function nest factory to create a nest application instance. Okay, a lot of things to chew. The main.ts includes a async function which will bootstrap our application. Okay, जी. You have your bootstrap app is equals to nest factory dot create with app module and listens on port number 3000. Okay, very good. What does app module has? Nest factory basically creates your server and your server listens on your port. Okay. very next, sorry, expressy, expressy syntax. To create a Nest application instance, we use the core Nest factory class. Nest factory exposes a few static methods that allows creating an application instance. The create method returns an application object, which is good, which fulfills the iNest application interface. This object provides a set of methods which are described in the coming chapter in the main.3. Okay, very good. We simply start our listening on HTTPS. This simply आपका सर्वर बन गया है. ठीक है. Platform. Nest aims to be a platform agnostic framework. What does that mean? Platform interface makes it possible to create usable logic parts that developer can take advantage of across different types of application. Technically, Nest is able to work with any Node HTTP framework once an adapter is created. These are two HTTP platforms supported out of the box: Express and Fastify. You can choose the one that best suits your needs. Okay, so Nest.js is a abstraction over Firebase. Oh, sorry, not Firebase. Firebase, no, sorry, yeah. Over Express. So Express is a well-known minimalist web framework for Node. It's a battery-tested, production-ready library with lots of resources implemented by the community. Okay. The Nest.js platform package is used by default. Many users are well aware with Express and need to take actions to enable it. Okay. Fastify is a high performance and low overhead framework highly focused on providing maximum efficiency and speed. Okay. Whichever platform is used, it exposes its own application interface. Okay जी, okay, ठीक है, create करने से आपका वो बन जाएगा. When you pass the type of this method as an example, app object will have methods available exclusively for specific platform. Note, however, you don't need to specify a type unless you actually want to access the underlying platform API. Running the application npm run start. Pretty basic. To speed up the development twice time, you can use LWC builder by using dash flag. And this is what is this LWC builder? Is a extensive Rust-based platform that can be used for both compilation and bundling. ठीक है. Basically आपका compiler है. हर चीज Rust में बना देता हूँ. This command starts the app with HTTP server running on the port definition. This once the application is running, you do 3000 and it starts running. Weirdly, it runs on 3000 and on the front end application also works on 3000, which is weird for me. I'm used to running my backend on 8000 or 8080 and running my front end on 3000. Linting and formatting. CLI provides best effort to scaffold a reliable development scalable at workflow at scale. Thus, a generated Nest project comes with both a code linter and a formatter pre-installed. ठीक है जी, ES लिंक आपको पहले से दे देंगे. बहुत अच्छी बात है. ES लिंक भी दे देंगे, Prettier भी दे देंगे. चलो. To ensure maximum scalability, extensibility, we use these base ESLint and Prettier CLI packages. This setup allows neat IDE integration with official extension by design. For headless environment where an IDE is not relevant, continuous integration with hooks, etc., our Nest project comes with ready-to-use npm scripts. अच्छा जी, npm script भी दे देंगे. npm run lint and npm run format. लिंक कर दोगे तो लिंक जाएगा, फॉर्मेट कर दोगे फॉर्मेट हो जाएगा. वेरी नाइस. ओके, वेरी नाइस. Let me do what? Hmm. Next.js. I want to quickly check one thing. Is my audio clear after I took out my earbuds? I want to quickly check one thing. Not doing studying for things that platforms supported out of the box. Express and customize. You can choose the one that's the best suits your needs. Okay, so Next.js is a abstraction of a Firebase. Okay, very awesome. We can continue. We can continue. So we have now controller. अपन ने फर्स्ट स्टेप कर लिया है फर्स्ट स्टेप ये था कि हमने इंस्टॉल कर लिया है इसमें आपके पास टेस्टनेट और जगह सपोर्ट है और ये सीएम का सपोर्ट है और मीडिया का सपोर्ट है ये सब अच्छी अच्छी बातें मैंने कर लिया अब हम चलते हैं कंट्रोलर पे कि व्हाट इज अ कंट्रोलर controllers are responsible for handling incoming requests and sending response back to the client. Okay? A controller's purpose is to handle specific requests for the application. The routing mechanism determines which controller will handle each request. Often a controller has multiple routes. Each route can perform a different action. So does controller route the application or is after routing it gets to a controller has multiple routes. A controller has multiple routes. Okay. To create a basic controller, we use a class and a decorator. Decorators link classes with the necessary metadata. Okay. Then decorator link classes with the necessary metadata, allowing best to create a routing map that that connects requests to the corresponding controllers. Okay. Example you can routing. In the following example, we use the controller decorator, which is required to create a basic controller. We will specify an optional route path, digits of cats, visual path, which the controller. Decorator helps us group related routes together to produce decorated code. Using first path, which is actually controller decorator helps us group related routes together to produce. For example, if you want to group routes that manage interactions with a cat entity under the slash cat path, we can specify the cat's path interface with the control decorator. This way, we don't need to repeat that portions of the path for each route in the file. Okay. So we have a controller with cats and the cat controller. On our get request, it will find all cats. Okay. Is it am I thinking right? Create a controller using CLI simply execute next command. The create a controller. The get is to be the request method declaration basis before the final develop else next to create a handler for a specific endpoint in the HTTP request. This endpoint is created and defined by the HTTP method and the route path. So only the out part. The part is for the handler or a handler determining the optional prefix declared by the controller. Different parts specified in the method declarator. Since we set the prefix tags for every route and haven't added any specific part in the method declarator, next we map slash tags equals to this handler. अच्छा slash tags on this. हम get में भी calculator भी बात कर सकते हैं तो it will be slash cat slash something. Yeah, that's really that. I've mentioned the route path includes both the optional controller path prefix and any path string specified in the method separator. For example, if the controller prefix is cats, the method decorator is get green. The resulting route will be get cats plus get greens. ठीक है हमने यहाँ पे कैश डाल दिया हमने यहाँ ब्रीच डाल दिया तो स्लैश कैश स्लैश ब्रीच कर देता है वेरी नाइस in our example above when a get request is made to this endpoint let's route the request to the user defined method note that the method name we choose that is entirely arbitrary while we must declare a method to bind the output next word that only specifies the method name. Okay, I can call this method anything. Coming from functional programming, it feels little different, but yeah, got it. Again, I would have enjoyed it a lot for this function. Yeah. Uh, it's encapsulation here. This method will return 200 signals around the created response, which in this case is a just string. Why did this happen? To explain, the first method will use the concept that has to be two different options for manipulating response. Okay, then the two response method, we just started implementing this is library specific. Using this built-in method, when a first handle returns the object or an array, it will automatically be serialized to JSON. Very good. हमें continue करनी है और returns our JavaScript object parameter. However, next will send just the value without any serialization. This makes response handling simple. Just return the value and the next take care of the rest. क्योंकि इनका value then वो serialize नहीं करेगा. If I will return an array or I will return an object, तो वो serialize करेगा. Okay. Got it. And it's nice to be and nice to be usable. Yes, I am. So, pending. Furthermore, the response status code is always 200 by default. If I have not post request, which is 201. Okay. So responses to tension related. Okay, very good. You can easily exchange whether by adding a HTTP code calculator at a handler level, user level. यार ये हर काम डेकोरेटिव से करोगे क्या फंक्शन की तो कर लो बस एचटीटीपी वैसा देता है तो वो डेकोरेटर से करेंगे रिस्पांस सही है तो रिस्पांस नहीं आएगा तो रिस्पांस भी सीधा रिटर्न करता है ठीक है routing की डेकोरेटर था ओके specific library. We can use this library specific to, for example, express response object, which will be injected using the again decorator, response decorator, the method handler signature. Find all, response decorator, response. Okay. With this approach, you have the ability to use the native response handling method explored by the object. For example, with Express, you can construct responsive using code like this business. Okay. This quest object. ठीक है. We typically also want to provide an endpoint that creates a new record. For this, let's create a quick handler. पोस्ट चलेगा है. तो अभी स्लैश कैट्स पे अगर हम पोस्ट रिक्वेस्ट करेंगे तो ये आपका कैट्स क्रिएट कर देगा. ओके. इट्स दैट सिंपल। हर चीज की डेकोरेटर बना दो। तो द बेसिक आइडिया इज कि हमने एक क्लास बनाई है जो कि आपका एंटिटी डिफाइन कर रही है। अब वो एंटिटी के अंदर जो CRUD ऑपरेशंस हैं वो जो कि गेट पोस्ट उन सब से हो सकते हैं, जिसमें हम डेकोरेट करके बताएंगे कि वो कौन सा मेथड टाइप है, और हम मेथड डिफाइन कर देंगे। वेरी नाइस। तो इसमें गेट पोस्ट पुट डिलीट पैच ऑप्शन हेड सब आ गया, और ऑल भी है। राउट वाइल्ड कार्ड्स। हम्म सेम थिंग जो एक्सप्रेस में होती है कि आप स्टार लगा दोगे तो ABCD के बाद आप कुछ भी लिखो वो इसी पे जाएगा। ठीक है। अब ये इसको भी मैच करेगा, इसको भी मैच करेगा, इसको भी मैच करेगा, इसको भी मैच करेगा। द हाइफन डॉट आर interpreted internals by string based path. Okay. This approach works on both Express and FastAPI. However, with the latest version of Express 5, the routing system becomes more strict. In pure Express, you must use a named wildcard to make sure the route works. For example, ABCD star palette, where palette is simply the name of the wildcard parameter and has no special meaning. You can name it anything you like. That said, since Nest provide a compatibility layer for Express, you can still use Asterix as a wildcard. So after Asterix, you can add anything. Similar, I think, like तो उसमें भी यही होता है regex में भी. Status code. As mentioned, the default status code for responses is always 2000, except for post request, which defines to 2001. You can easily change this behavior using HTTP codes decorator. इसलिए भी decorator बता दो कि create वाली API by default 2004 204 देगी. Import HTTP decorator. Often your status code isn't static, but depends on the various factor. In that case, you can use libraries responses objects. ठीक है. I would like to know कि इसमें error handling कैसा हो रही है. Response headers. Try to specify a custom response header. You can either use header decorator or a library specific response object. There is cache control to no store. I never understood इसका मतलब क्या है. Hmm, if I would like to open chat GPT in front of you guys and hide my stuff. हाँ, decorator is common gestures what ठीक है. To set cache to response shared tells the browser to not cache any part of the response. It ensures the content is fresh every time from the server. So basically caching नहीं हो रही है. Okay. Pretty obvious also. Straightforward. होने चले जाता हूँ. बट नहीं, हम ये कंप्लीट करके फिर जाएंगे. हम्म. Redirection. To redirect a response to a specific URL, you can use the redirect decorator, of course, or a specific library. Redirect takes two arguments, the URL and the status code. Both are optional. The default value of status code is 402 if omitted. What is the default value for URL? Sometimes you may want to determine the HTTP status code or a redirect URL dynamically. Do this by returning an object from the HTTP response redirect. Return values will overwrite any argument passed to the redirect decorator. For example, for example, आधा घंटा हो गया हमें. वेरी नाइस. ओके. Mhm. Return value will override any arguments given to the redirect operator. For example, we have this. Okay, this will redirect me to this get docs query with version. Query में हमें version मिलेगा. If version exists and version is 5, then redirect to the documentation of 5. And the URL I will return will be this. Okay. So it will not redirect me to this, but it will redirect me to this. है ना? Return values will override any arguments passed to the redirect operator. Route parameters. Route with static paths won't continue when you need to accept dynamic data such as part of the request. Get cat to get the cat with the ID 1. To define routes with parameters, you can add route parameters token in the route path to capture the dynamic value from the URL. Basically dynamic value कैसे मिलेगी? तो हमारे पास स्लैश आईडी है तो हमने params में आईडी डाल रखी है which is type of any और params will become params डॉट आईडी से हमें आईडी मिल जाएगी. ठीक है, थोड़ा सा इसको हम बोर्डिंग हो रहा है तो इसको हम आगे बढ़ाते हैं. अब आईडी मिल गई तो हम params में हम आईडी डालेंगे तो फिर आईडी मिलेगी. सीधा params डालेंगे तो सीधा params सारे मिल जाएंगे. सब डोमेन राउटिंग कैसे होती है? कंट्रोलर है, कंट्रोलर में होस्ट है, उसमें एडमिन डॉट दिस है. तो दिस बिकम्स अ admin page. The controller decorator takes host option to require the HTTP host from the incoming request matches the specific URL. ठीक है कि होस्ट भाई ये होना चाहिए, नहीं तो हम नहीं करने देंगे. ठीक है, सेम सब डोमेन कुछ भी हो, डोमेन ही होना चाहिए. You can capture this the host parameter over state sharing. Hmm, async. I like async. Okay. For developers coming from other programming languages, it might be surprising to learn that in Nest.js, nearly everything is shared across incoming requests. This includes resources like database, connection pool, singleton service with global state, and more. It's important to understand that Node.js doesn't use request response multi-threaded state model, where each request is handled by a separate thread. As a result, using singleton pattern instance in Nest.js is completely safe for our application. Hmm. Node.js is a single-threaded line environment, इसलिए this is safe. That said, there are specific edge cases where having request-based timeline for lifetime for controllers may be necessary. Example includes per request caching in GraphQL application. Out of scope हमें GraphQL नहीं आता है. Multi-tenacity, you learn more about this using the injection code. ठीक है. Async. We love modern JavaScript, especially it emphasizes on asynchronous data handling. That's why Nest.js fully support async functions. Every async function must return a promise, which allows you to return a deferred value that Nest can resolve automatically. Here's an example. Obviously, like this is the most important thing. No, there will be no synchronized API. You always do API calls, database calls. You always do synchronized. क्या ही करोगे? मतलब कर सकते हो बट यूजुअली नहीं होता. अगर डेटाबेस कॉल है तो एसिंक ही हो जाएगा. This code is perfectly valid, but Nest takes it a step further by allowing route sender to return RxJS observable stream as well. Nest will handle the subscription internally and resolve the final limiting once the stream is done. अब ये क्या स्ट्रीम होता है भाई? ऑब्जर्वेबल स्ट्रीम क्या होता है? Observables are lazy push collection of multiple values. They fill the missing spot in the table. New observable क्या हैं आप? क्या हैं आप? क्या हैं आप? क्या हैं आप? What are you? RSS for composing asynchronous and event-based programs by using observable sequence. It provides one core type, the observable satellite type, observer, schedule, subject, and operators inspired by array methods. Allows handle asynchronous events as collections. Think of RSS Lodash for events. Hmm. First example is document dot click पे ठीक है. Use RSS you can create an observable instant instead. अच्छा. From event document click subscribe console of this. अच्छा. Event handling के लिए है. And by event handling document event handling है. ठीक है मोटा मोटा समझ आ गया. So observable returns this. Both approaches are valid and you can choose whatever you like. Request payloads. In a previous example, the post request post out handler doesn't accept any client parameters. Let's fix that by adding a body. Before we proceed, if you're using TypeScript, we need to define the DTO, data transfer object schema. A DTO is an object that specifies how data should be sent over the network. We could define the DTO schema using TypeScript interface or simple classes. However, we recommend using classes here. Why? Classes are part of JavaScript ES6 standard, so they remain intact as real entities in the compiled JavaScript. In contrast, TypeScript interfaces are removed during compilation or transpilation, meaning Nest can't import them at runtime. This is important because features like pipes rely on having access to meta type of variable at runtime, which is only possible with classes. So here DTOs make sense classes से बनाना. Let's create this DTO. If only there are three basic properties, thereafter you can use DTO inside a controller. There is a DTO. This is for people coming from functional programming. I think this is more like Zod. Like the first time someone said DTO, मेरे को Zod याद आया. There is a class, there is name, which is a string, age, number, breed, string. Can we also tell this the length? Because Zord gives you length and min, max, a lot of things, refinement. It has only three basic properties. However, we can use the newly DTO inside the controller. Post method है. Method का नाम create है. इसमें body जो जाएगी वो इस DTO की होगी. क्या ये एक क्लास को एज अ टाइप यूज करता है? Are you allowed that? Okay. Our validation pipe can filter out this, filter out properties that should receive. In this case, we can whitelist the acceptable properties. Any property that include this whitelist, our whitelist is this. Now, query parameters. When handling query parameters in the routes, you can use query decorator to extract them by incoming request. Consider route. This is this. हमारे पास get route है. उसमें find all है. उसमें query है जो कि एक age है. इसमें इसका टाइप नंबर है. क्वेरी है स्ट्रिंग है तो इसका टाइप स्ट्रिंग है. गुड क्वेश्चन. In this query, this was the query. Okay, if your application requires handling more complex queries, nesting this as array. Filter where name is this. Filter where age is this. So you can configure this. You need to configure your HTTP adapter to use appropriate query parsing. In Express, you can use extended parser, which allows for rich query objects. क्या मतलब है? There is a parser extended app module ठीक है, query parser extended. Now in Fastify you can use this query Fastify adapter, query parser, string, QS. Where does QS come from? Parse the string. QS कहाँ से import हो रहा है? QS is query parser that support nesting array. You can install and install query. Okay. Yes. Okay. Nested nesting and array. Okay, this is weird, na? Hmm. Handling errors. I need to look at it actually. Filter name equal to John and filter where age is. Why would you do where if I can add name is equals to John and age is equals to this uh, item array equals to 1 and item array equal to 2. Okay, something maybe. Full resource sample. Here is a below demonstration of use of several available decorators to create a basic controller. ठीक है, let's go one by one. Controller here, which is a cat. Now it will create a post request, which has a create, which body is this, which has a DTO, and now which returns. Now you get a request, find all, query. Now you list all the entities. Okay, now query. Now list all entities is also DTO. Okay, get request. Now find request. Okay, and get with the ID and find one, and you will get from the params. Instead of this, we can just do params.id if we remove this. Now again, this is a param and this. Okay. Sujay offers a generator schematic that automatically create all the boilerplate code. Yeah, this is will be interesting and we'll get to boilerplate code. Getting up and running, even with cache controller fully defined, Nest doesn't yet know about it and won't automatically create an instance of the class. Okay. Controller must always be part of a module, which is why we include the controller array within the module decorator. Since we haven't defined any other module apart from the root, we will use it to register the cat controller. So we have an app module जिसमें हमें as a module controller register करना पड़ेगा. Without registering a controller, it won't be able to get it. That's I think it's what he's trying to say. We attach the metadata to module class using the module decorator, and now Nest can easily determine which controller need to be mounted. Library specific approaches can be this, which is so far we have covered standard REST management. Another method is to use library specific response. To inject a response, we can use REST decorator and to highlight this. ठीक है स्लैश कैट पे स्लैश हम पोस्ट रिक्वेस्ट करने वाले हैं जिसमें ये वाला फंक्शन कॉल होगा इसका रिस्पांस का फॉर्मेट इज a response from express, and since the response is this, we will do response status http this. So whatever decorator I will use here will come into this. So if I am saying the decorator is a body, then body will come. So it's very magical ना कि body बोला body आ जाओ response बोला response आ जाओ query बोला query आ जाओ. Okay. Hmm. While this approach works and works normally for giving full control, such as headers and this, it should be used with caution. Generally, this method is less clear and comes with downside. ठीक है हम वही यूज करेंगे. Don't worry. Finally, finally we finished controllers, and my stomach is paining now. बहुत बोल लिया आज. And we did what? 49 minutes we did. Wow. Hi, sir. Hello. You are late. You are late to the party. ठीक है जी, we did 45 minutes today. It's a good start. We will finish providers tomorrow. Providers, we will do providers. Providers का क्या सीन है? For concept, providers modules. We did it today. Introduction and controller. First step. These three things हमने कर लिए हैं. कल ट्राई करते हैं. We will try to finish more stuff and देखते हैं कहाँ तक जाते हैं. इसके बाद लैंड ग्राफ भी है. लैंड ग्राफ भी पढ़ना है. ये देखते हैं कितनी डॉक्यूमेंटेशन पढ़ेंगे. And yeah, done for today. Bye bye, guys. We will meet tomorrow, probably the same time. Bye.